Alright YouTube, in this video I'm going to show you how to send friend request from one user ID to another user ID. So this is the two login screen. I have opened it on one in incognito mode and one in general mode. So let me log in first and show you. I'm going to log in with David email account login. So if you click on timeline, so this is David and David is going to send a request to John. So let's log in with John. So this is John. So now David is going to send request to John. So for that, what David has to do is, I have created this with the help of PHP, MySQL and Ajax. So now the David has to get into the John profile. David has need to get into the John's profile and he has to send friend request. So click friend request and it says from David's timeline we have sent friend request to John. So if you see, friend request already sent. Now we are in the John's profile now in another tab. If you click on notification, you can see David sent you friend request. And in the next video we'll see the accept and reject functionality. So if you did not understand what we are going to do, let me log out and show you again. In this case I'm going to log in with Paul. And here it's going to be Matthew. So on the timeline you can see this is Paul and this is Matthew, and Paul is going to send a friend request to Matthew. So for that Paul has to get into the profile of Matthew. So let's get into the profile of Matthew and Paul is going to send friend request. Friend request is sent, and if you click on notification and you should see Paul has sent you friend request. So Matthew received the request. So in this case, if there is no request, Paul is not going to get. So let's send the request from Matthew to Paul. The ID of Paul is 2. So if you click notification again, you should see, no, before that you have to send friend request. Friend request is sent. Now if you click on notification, now the Paul will get the notification from Matthew. Fine. You are clear. I believe you are clear what we are going to do in this video. So the whole section, let's work on creating the friend request notification section. Fine. To follow along, I have left the source code in the description. Fine, follow along. Let's get into the let's create the timeline. So if I log in, if I get into the register.php and get the username and password of the account which is activated, click on submit. Now you can see this is the profile. Now the timeline is not working, so let's add the timeline. Open the INC, we have header and inside that we have timeline. So let's create a file called timeline.php and we need to pass a parameter called name, or let's say ID equal to, we'll pass a session PHP echo. So the session which will be created after login, which is member ID. Fine. Now if I refresh and click on timeline, the ID we can get it. So let's create a page called timeline.php. Click on enter, and now let's copy paste what is there in the index page. So if I refresh, click on timeline, and it says it could not found the file. Let's see why. So if you see, we are saving it over here, so we have to save it on the root directory. That's the reason we could not get it. So let's open which is in the root directory. Control W. So if I refresh, we could get now just by getting the $_ request, and if I have ID and store it into a variable called $ID. I have not used the PHP yet. So if I try to echo the ID, refresh it, and now you could see 11 is available. We don't need the logout button. Now with this ID we have to select all the values from the profile.php. So we are going to use a select statement which is available on login.php. Or we'll get it from in the profile.php. Actually we have used the country, so there we have the proper code. Just copy this and paste it over here. Select everything from the table profile where ID equal to, you can see there is an ID. Actually it is an user ID, not the ID, where user ID equal to the ID which we got from the URL, single quotes $. Actually we don't need while loop here, since we know we would be getting only one row, that's the reason. So here SQL profile, and now with this variable, it's an array, we can get all the input field, so we can get all the column names. If I try to echo about, I should be able to get it. Remove this ID, refresh, now if you see the about is available. Likewise I'm going to get all the values: gender, date of birth, education, profile pic, this much. Refresh. So with now this, it's time to store this value into a variable $about gender, date of birth, education, profile. And now let's create a row, and here for sidebar call 4, and for timeline and status message call 8, and inside that again I need row call 6, which will be label name, likewise this is for about, gender, date of birth, education, and we'll have a profile picture at the top. So let's echo the values. Let's see. Fine, it is available. Likewise, gender, date of birth, education, refresh it. And now to get the name, we need to pass this to the different table which is register. And this time it's the ID. And from this result, what we need is we just need name and email. So let's check the column name on the list, which is this. We have ID, name, email, name, email, and that's it. Get this name and get the email. And if you want the name, you can display the name over here. Actually, the name here is small case. Let's refresh. On line number 10. So this switch is we have missed the function MySQL underscore fetch underscore array, which will convert the array into name index. Fine, we got the name, we got the about, we got gender, we got date of birth, and we got education. Let's add the image as well. Call 12. Image tag in the images folder. Let's pass the profile pic. Refresh. Fine. Now if you want, you can make text center. If you want, you can design as you like. So let me add padding top, margin top of 3, let's say 5, and for the image, padding bottom of 5, or let's make it 3. Fine. Now we are able to fetch the values, log out, and let's try to log in with some other details. Here UI monk, login. If I click on timeline, you are seeing the profile picture along with the data which you have inserted while editing the profile. So let's make this image size little smaller. Height 300, width 300, or if I make 200 and 200, that would also be okay. Log out. Let's try to log in with the old one. Timeline, yes, I could see. Alright, now let's see how to create send friend request functionality. So for that we need to create a table, request, let us save somewhere, and we need ID, sending from, sending to, and then accepted, and then date added. Fine. Click on use this primary key, sending from, sending to, accepted is going to be an enum, 0 or 1. And then date added is going to be date or time. Click on submit. Table is created. Now let's add a button. So here we are going to add a button. Call 12. Padding top 2. Class, we already have Bootstrap, btn primary, and on click here, send action. Here the first I'm going to pass a constant value, and then I'm going to pass the ID which we get here, which is this ID. PHP echo. Now let's define this function. At first it should just say hello to test whether our jQuery is working. I clicked but it is not working. Let me see why. Let us make this double quotes since we are using single quotes outside. So let us make this responsive. Click on submit and you can see our jQuery is working. And let's see the constant value and the ID we are able to fetch. If I click on send request, we should get the ID 11. Yep, we are able to get it. Control O, fine. Now we are going to use jQuery Ajax $.post, and here the first file, let's create a file handler, and the file name is going to be action.php, and here we need to pass id equal to the id which we get here. Just try to use backtick. Fine. And action equal to send a request. So after, as a second parameter, we'll get the response, and we'll alert the response. So now we need to create a file, a folder called handler. So let's create it on the htdocs social network handler, and inside the handler we need a file called action.php, and we are passing the id and send action. So let's try to check. Let's create a PHP first. Echo hello. Now let's see whether we are getting hello. Use of undefined constant hello. So we are getting the hello. We are using it without single quotes, that's why we are getting this error. Now you can see hello is available. Now we want to show this hello only if the action is send a request. If is set $_request action equal to if we set $_request action is equal to send request, then show hello. Let's see what is this error. Let us remove the set. Now if the action is send request, you will get the yellow. That means it is working fine. Now let's get the ID from the URL $ID. So this is the ID of sending request sending to and request sending from is actually from the member who is actually logged in. $_session and here we have set the session as member ID. So now we got sending to and sending from. Now it's just time to insert it. So for inserting, we have the query already set here. So here the table name is going to be request sending from sending to, and that's it. And the date added, So here the sending from, request sending from, sending to, and request sending to, date added is going to be equal to date single quotes y underscore m underscore d. Fine. Now I believe everything is okay. Now once we click on send request, the data should get saved into database, and we should get the message data request sent saved into DB. Let's try. In the request table, it is blank right now. If I click on submit, the ID, both of them is going to be 11, but we have not used two values, which is, the first one is config and the second one is session start. Now refresh it. Let's check whether there is no value inserted. Click on send request. It's the file path. We are in the folder called in handler. Send the friend request. Click on browse. Yes, we are able to send request. We are not echoing the success. That's the reason we could not see. Click on submit, request sent, and saved to DB. Now you can see values. Actually, we are sending from the same ID. We are sending request from the same user. So the user is 11. We are sending the request to the same user 11. That's why we are getting this. So in case if we have another user, let's see the another user, let's take 10 and open that value. So this is another user, and my current logged in ID, if you remember, is 11. Click on send friend request. Now you are able to send. So now the 10 and 11 will be there. 11 is sending friend request to 10. So we are able to fetch the values. So we are able to send request to another user. So here in this video we are going to see, once a request sent, do not show the request button. Do not show the send request button. Likewise, what I mean by that is, if you click refresh, if I send request, now if you browse, there are actually 6 values. Click on send request. So at present, if you know, we are sending request to ourselves. So if you see, 2 values are inserted. That means we are sending request to ourselves. That itself is an wrong thing. The second thing is, the data is getting inserted multiple times. To stop that, what we're going to do is, we have to get into the page called timeline.php, and we will be getting the success message from the file called action.php. If the success message is this, if response is equal to this, then what we need to do is, we need to hide the button. So how we are going to hide? Let me give this an ID. Using jQuery dot hide. Let's try to send request again. After success, you see the button gone. So I don't want just the button to get disappear. Instead I want to have a text dot parent dot html request sent. So what it's going to do is it's going to get the ID. From the ID get the parent, which is this one, and inside this what we need a text is we need a text called request sent successfully. Now if I click again, you will see request sent successfully text, and that doesn't stop there. The data is getting inserted. Let me refresh it, and on every refresh, if you see, this data is already there, but the button is available. So to stop that, we need to add a condition saying if we need to run the select query, let's add PHP block, check a request, select star from request. This is the request table where send from here we are going to have some values, and send to is actually the one which is currently logged in. And accepted equal to 0. So send from is going to be the send to is going to be the session, which we can get control F SC CSS. Session is not there, so let's get it from the logout. This is the session is already available, so we don't have to worry. Actually sending from is someone who is logged in. There is a mistake, let's see what it is. Yep. If you see, we have already double quotes here. That's the reason it is not allowing us, and we cannot have single quotes as well. So the best thing is concatenate it. The same way here, the sending to is will be from the URL in which we are viewing. If this returns at least one value, then the request is available on the database. We need to use num rows. The code is available, copy it. If we have at least one result, then we need to have a text called request already sent, else that means the data is not available on the database. So for that we want to have button that inserts data into the database. So at present, if there is no error, the 11 is already there in the database. We should see the text on line 73. Accepts one parameter, MySQL as result. So first we'll try to echo these values to check whether we are properly getting the values from the session and from the URL. We should get it. Fine, we are able to fetch it. Now let's try to have the hardcode value 11. Sending from and sending to. So we are making some useless errors. Actually it is request, not register. So if the data is already there, then we should not get this button, but we are getting it. Let me see why. The thing is, we are getting 9 values. If you see here 9, we are not getting 1. We should see if it is greater than 0. Then if you notice, I have replaced the values, hardcode value, and tested it. To avoid semicolon, single quotes and double quotes. Now we don't need this as well. Now let's try. Request already sent. So if I delete all these values and start from scratch, that means start fresh. There are no requests in this table. Delete this. So you should see the button. So if you see, if I click send request, request would be sent, request sent successfully. And if you click on browse, data is inserted, and after refresh, request sent successfully is not going to change. So likewise, if you like to change, if you like to give request to some other guy, let's say 10, on page load it is showing send request, because on the request there is no such request. If I try to send request, and you see request sent successfully and data is inserted, sending from 11 and send to 10. If you refresh, the button won't be visible, the text is available. Fine, that is working. Now let's get into next. In this video we are going to see how to send a notification for friend request. So I have inserted some values. So let's try to log in with this guy, a guy named John. You get into timeline, you see I'm logged in as John, but John cannot send a friend request to John itself. So for that we have to add a condition here. If my session is equal to the ID which I received from the URL, if both are same, then I cannot send friend request to myself, else I can send friend request. So now there will be no button. So if I get into some other user, let's say 8, let's see 8, get into 8. Now I am logged in as 9, but I am looking at profile 8. So at that time I can see the friend request button. So if I click 9, now I am myself. If I click 10, so this is another friend, so I can send him friend request. Fine, that is working. So if I click on, now I am 9, I am sending request to 10, send request. and you can see on the request 9 sent to 9 sending to 10, so that is available. So I am logged in as 9. So if I refresh now, you can see there is no button. And let's work on the notification now. So for that I have to create a table. So that table is name going to be notification. We are going to have 6 columns. Let me add 2. The first one is ID, which is going to be auto increment. The second one is notification for, and notification to. Let's make a notification from, and this is message, and we are seeing whether it is read or not, and then we are going to have date added. So this is ID int, and this is going to be varchar 200, and this is going to be enum. Either it is going to be 0 or either it is going to be 1. Date added is going to be date and time. And if you notice this ID, we are going to add this as an auto increment. So if I click here, it will be selected as primary key. That is what we need. Click on save, and the table is created. Now while inserting, like on the actions.php, control B, on the action.php, we are inserting the data on the request table. Likewise, I need to add to the notification table. So here the table name is going to be notification, and notification from, notification to, message, we will make it in a minute, is read. By default it is going to be 0, and a date added, which is the current timestamp, which we have already created. Alt Z. So notification from is simply the request sending from. Notification to is request sending to. Message, we'll create it, dollar message equal to request from, which is ID, is sending, has sent request to, request to. So let's add this message, and is read, as I said, it is going to be 0, and date added is here. We have used PHP function. Fine. Now if you see, let's delete this on the next 9 sent friend request to 10. We don't want that. So now we can see the button. Let's check the notification tab as well. Open a new tab. So what should is I click on send request, two tables need to be populated. The first one is request and second one is notification, if there is no error. Request sent successfully. So 9 send friend request to 10. 9 send friend request to 10. Same on notification. Actually, I haven't write the query. And let me write and SQL notification. Now let me delete this. and we can see the button again. Send a friend request to data to table A to be populated. 9 sent, 9 to 10, and 9 to 10. Fine, you can see 9 and request to 10. So you want to decrypt, you can do it just by using the SQL query for these two ID, for sending from and sending to. So how we are going to do it? Use the select statement, which is available over here. We need to get the name. So to get the name is available on profile. No, register. Yeah, name is available here. If we have to get the table register, where we get name, we need to get the name where ID is equal to the request sending from. So this SQL is simply request from name. The same way, request to name. Here it is going to be sending to. So now, after executing these two queries, so how are we going to execute? From passes to and then we have to use a fetch associative array, which is available here. Name underscore from. Name underscore to. And now you can see 9 and 10. So let me delete this. And on the request, let me delete this. You can see the button. Click on send request. 9 sent. Browse. There was an error. Let me delete all. Let's check. Again, it's an associative array. We need to get the row. And that row, with that row, you have to get the name column. So let me delete all these values and it is taking some time. Click on send friend request, and on the browse, 9 send friend request to 10, and on the notification tab, John has sent friend request to UI Monk. Fine, that is exactly what we need, but it has been inserted twice. It is because of the browser. So I am logged in as 9. So let me get value 8. Send I am 9. The name of 9 is John. John is sending friend request to David. Click on send friend request. let's see the request table. 9 sent to 8 and John has sent request to David. Fine. Now we are able to see, or we are able to add the message to the database. Now it's time to fetch the values on the new page. Let us create a new page called notification and we'll display over there. So now we are going to show notification on page. So for that we have to create a page. On the INC we have header, let's create one more link, notification. You can see notification is available here, notification.php. So it is going to be like index. So here, with the help of session ID, we are going to fetch the values from the database notification. We are in notification, and if the two matches our session ID, then display the message. That's what we are going to do. So the select statement which we can get here, SQL for notification $ID. So this ID would be passed here. The only change is the table name, and we need to run the query. After running the query, I want to fetch the value. And after fetching the value, I want to echo the column name. So right now we are logged in, so there won't be any notification for now. John sent friend request to David. Actually we are John and the David. It is not ID, it is notification 2. We have sent request, so there won't be anything. So let me remove this logout, which is not required. So let's see, this is John, sent request to 8 and 10. So let's see who is 8 and 10 on the register. 8 is David and 10 is UI Monk. So 8 is David. Let's log in with the David account. So now here we have to click on the notification. We should get that John sent notification to David. Fine. Now let's check the UI Monk also, which is this. And now you can see on the notification John sent request to UI Monk. So let's design this. So if there is more than one columns in a table, we need to run a while loop. So let me run the while loop now. So the while loop will accept the fetch associative array. Now let's try with multiple values. We have to echo fine. We are logged in as UI Monk. So log out. Let's sign in by Paul and send request to UI Monk. The UI Monk ID is 10. Get into the timeline. and pass 10, send friend request, log out and log in by UI Monk. You should get 2 friend requests, one from Paul and one from the guy which is we have sent earlier, John and Paul. Fine, that is working. Now let's work with some Bootstrap classes to make it a little attractive. So here, let's comment this. This is how it looks. So what do we need is, let's create a row, $row, call 4, call 8, and this thing will be outside PHP. Now if there is any value, it should be displayed inside the call 8. Fine, call 8 is working. Now here we will use something like this alert. Copy this, paste it. We'll paste this over here using the PHP. Now if I see John sent request to UI Monk, Paul sent request to UI Monk. So let's write this inside card body. Inside the card body, let's have this. Fine. Now if you see, these two guys have sent a request to Paul. So we need to add a button here like accept and reject. So we have to send this with the database itself. So on the timeline we have created a message here. So here with the message we are going to pass 2 buttons. Button class btn primary, and it is going to be accept. The same one, it is going to be reject. So let's try to send now. Let's clear all the values from the list to avoid confusion. Delete. Right now I am logged in as UI Monk. Let's delete the notification. Check all. As I said, right now I am logged in as UI Monk. Let me get into Paul's ID, or 10 is actually UI Monk, 9 John, 8 7. So let's send this request. UI Monk is sending request to Vishal. Send request. On the request, you can see it is sent. Now let's log in with this guy Vishal. The ID is 7. 7. This is vishal@gmail.com. Log out. Log in as Vishal. And on notification there is no values. Let me see what is the issue that caused it. Let's see on the notification whether we have inserted some values. On the notification it is blank. That's the reason. Okay, we are now logged in as Vishal. Let's try to request to some other guy. Let's say it Vishal is sending request to David. I'm clicking it, but it is not working. Let me see why. There would be a PHP error on the action. If there is any error, it should be this, which is causing the success message not showing up. Maybe this is causing it. Let's try to remove and change it, test it. Refresh. I think that is it. Let me try to delete it and start from. Try to send it again, and yet notification is not filled. Check all, delete. Refresh. Click send request, and on the notification it is available. On the actually this request, let's try on the notification. Notification is also available. So the thing is, this is what causing the problem. Let's try to make this on a single line and check. Alt Z, Control B, or that could be another issue as well. Click on structure, instead of varchar, change, where is change? Let us add text. Click on save, and now let's delete these values. Notification is blank, and request is also going to be blank. Now I, Vishal, send request to David. Vishal is sending request to David. Click on send friend request. Browse. On request, data is available. On notification, data is not filled. On notification, data is not filled. I think because of this causing the issue. I think it is not allowing the let us not try to append. Let's try to append here dot equal to so this is another way. Let's try now. Notification is blank by default. Let's clear the request. Refresh. Click on send friend request. On request, data is filled, and on notification, data is not filled. This is causing the issue. So let's try to MySQL underscore error dollar connection. Remove this. You can see the button now. Click on submit if there is error. I click 4 times. Notification is blank. Request should be blank, but it won't be. The thing is, notification is not getting filled. So the very simple fix is you have to write backticks. starting from here. Click on browse, delete this. There should be data. Let's delete this as well. Now we are in 7. Vishal is sending request to David. Send friend request. Request sent. Now let's log in with David ID. And on the notification, I could see only the, let's see the notification. This should not be the case. Let's add curly brace. Let's add this inside. Now let's try to send request. Now David is sending request to Vishal. Request is sent, but the notification message is not sent. We don't need this. Let's try. Backtick dot has sent you friend request. You have option whether to ignore and let us delete. Check all, delete, refresh. It is sending request. David is sending request to Vishal. Let's see on the notification table what messages holds. We just have David. We can see only this. This thing is not getting saved. And now let's check now. David is sending request to Vishal. Click on send request. Now let's log in with the David ID. And on the notification we should get, let's see what is the notification field here. The data is filled. On the notification let's get into the ID 7. I believe the name is vishal@gmail.com. Let's check. Let's cross check. There could be a mistake. Yes, it's vishal@gmail. Now on the notification we should see two buttons, accept and reject. This is what made us so difficult. That's okay, we can do it. Fine. On the notification page, we don't need this one now. On the notification page, alert T flex justify content end. Fine, no issues. Now we are able to send the request with the button accept and reject. So let's add a functionality to this button, and while passing the message we are going to add an on click listener equal to, and it is going to trigger a function called request action. It is going to have parameter. If it is 1, then it is accepted, request is accepted, and if it is 2, request is rejected. And along with that I need to pass the session ID who is actually logged in. It is not allowing me. Let me see what can I do. Let's try. If that is wrong, we'll do some other thing. No issues. The only way to test is send the request again. Let's delete on the request, check all, delete. Now actually we have 7. Let's send request to 10. Let's say 6. Friend request sent. Let's log in with Matthew. We shall send friend request to Matthew. We shall send you friend request. Now we just have to notice whether on click we are receiving the session of the batch sent the request. It is going to be ID, of course. Either it is ID or it is string. So it has taken as a string. That is a mistake. We have to make it as an number. So now it was not backticks, it is single quotes. Let's delete and on the register as well. So not on the register, on the request. Now Matthew is going to send request to six is 7. Matthew is sending request to Vishal. Log out, log in with Vishal, gmail.com. Now Matthew sent you friend request. Now along with that you should get the ID, and if you see 1 and 6, 2 and 6, 1 means accept, 2 means reject. So this can be accessed on the notification.php, and here on the script you are going to create a function, and the function name is click. And here you are going to get 2 parameter, which is type, either 1 or 2, request or reject, and then the ID of someone who has sent the request. and let's try to alert it. Either it is 1 or 2. Click on it is 1 and it is 2, and if you send a friend request, it is going to be, because your current ID is 7, notification you have received from the 6. It's a friend request from the user 6. Fine. Now we are going to post Ajax $.post. The first one is the URL handler/action.php, and then the callback function. Whatever response we'll get and alert the response without. Fine. Now here we have to pass a string called name equal to question mark name equal to request section, just to identify whether we are in which section, and the second one is the request sent from equal to use the we'll use backtick now, and with this we can send equal to, now this is an ID, and then the type, either it is going to be 1 or 2. Now we can access this on the action.php, which is this one, and we have already used the if condition. Let's see where it ends. There is no format in HTML here. So here it ends, else if the request here is going to be the name which I have sent, $, and on the notification.php here it's action. The name will make it action equal to request section. If this is set, then echo some message. Let's click either one button, we should get processing, and on line 7 there is an error. Line 7, undefined index action. Actually here we are passing it as, let me refresh this, Control U. On the script we are passing it as name. Refresh. Let's see the script here. Here we are still passing it as name, so we have not saved it. Click on accept, processing, click on reject, processing. We have to perform we'll do it. We'll perform, we are going to check now. So far you can see you are able to send a friend request, and you are able to receive the notification of the request sent, and now we are going to create the functionality of accept and reject.